So, on the other side, we actually have mirrors in the Legacy and Modern seats. So Mason Purcell, Grixis Delver, Robert on humans in the middle spot. This is the only one that's going to be different, and Nathan Thomas on mono red aggro. So historically, Ryan, when I see mono red versus blue-white approach, that's actually a good matchup for mono red. Do you think this plays the same?
The more controlling the deck is, I think the more play you have against a deck like mono red, though you only have so many lean removal spells. There's 3 settle ways, seal aways, 3 settle wreckage, but it's hard to really convert your counter spells. I think this matchup is a little bit tough, certainly once you lose the die roll.
Soulscar Mage starts for Nathan Thomas. Brennan with a tap land. So not that much interaction early. We see a swing of 3 as Earthshaker Kenra is added to the board for Nathan Thomas. Only real addition, he has the 4 Goblin Chain Whirlers.
I think that's going to be pretty common for mono red decks where that's the only update from Dominaria.
Brennan, second land and passes. What are we looking at for interaction early, if anything?
3 copies of Seal Away. We do have a Syncopate. You don't want to cast it on turn 2, but he has access to 2 Blink of an Eye.
Another swing of 3 puts Brennan down to 14. He has left up, possibility of counter magic. 1 Syncopate, 1 Negate, 3 Essence Scatter. We'll see if any of them convert. A try for Goblin Chainwalker, and that will be hit. That is Syncopate. Our first. There we go. You have a square for that one, I think.
Non-land, non-Llanowar Elves, Dominaria reprint. That'll check that box.
Exiles away the Chainwalker. Chain Whirler. He's not just walking with chains, he's swinging them.
Yeah.
4th land for Nathan. He still has 3 damage to turn on the board. He's going to try for On-Crop Crasher. That should... Brennan basically just has to counter whatever Nathan casts, I think.
You have to preserve your life total. You don't want to get into a spot where a lightning strike just kills you.
Disallow hits the On-Crop Crasher, and now Fanatical Firebrand will jump in, and it's 4 damage. Brennan's down to 10. We need something like Settle the Wreckage here. Nathan down to 1 card. Brennan draws untapped land.
I believe he does have the settle, and he has the land.
Yeah. Field of Ruin. Also has Hieroglyphic Illumination to punish Nathan if Nathan doesn't attack. Nathan draws a land. So despite the fact he's at 10, the board looks safe for Brennan. We'll see whether Nathan sends all 3 creatures or maybe it's just 2.
Yeah, you definitely want to respect settle here.
And he did. You see, rather nicely, he leaves back Earthshaker Kenra, so he loses 2 attackers, gets 2 mountains, but he got to keep his best creature.
Yeah, you don't want to have your Kenra exiled. You want to be able to eternalize it later. I like that attack, though the position is looking really rough for Nathan.
Well, he needs to have a follow-up here if possible. And Lightning Strike upstairs is the play.
It takes the opportunity to resolve it, so no counter can show up while Brennan's tapped out, but still has a lot of work to do.
And let's see what Teferi can do, because Brennan has Teferi and 5th land. So here's the Planeswalker, enters the battlefield. We've only ever seen it +1, but that's pretty good. You draw a card, untap 2. Brennan will do both those things and passes. He's at 7. Hand is 2 Hieroglyphic Illumination, another Settle the Wreckage, and a 4th card. But he'll be drawing 2 each turn. Nathan now has a decision where he wants to send Kenra, and the answer is upstairs, except the answer is it's going nowhere. Seal Away was in Brennan's hand, and that makes that Teferi just a great play.
Yes.
And Brennan pluses, draws another Seal Away, and this is nice. I think he's going to main phase Hieroglyphic Illumination to try for a land.
It's also great. You get to just untap 2 of those lands.
Yeah. A +1 ability of draw a card and make 2 mana is really quite good.
You don't have to sell me on that.
And Brennan will do that. It means you can Hieroglyphic Illumination twice here.
That is a productive turn.
Yeah.
Now, DeCandio not really able to gain life in this blue-white shell. There's a couple fumigates, though for the most part, he's kind of got to counter any burn that shows up from Nathan Thomas, but not much along that front. Thomas has drawn a lot of lands.
Soulscar Mage from Thomas. Brennan can Essence Scatter here, or he can Hieroglyphic. He'll actually just let it resolve and draw 2. Find Search for Azcanta and 1 other card. We'll go back over to Brennan. Now, I believe a full 7 in hand. And he will cast Search for Azcanta with 2 mana. And, hey, 2 mana. That sounds like something Teferi can help with. Draws Torrential Gear Hulk on taps 2. Yeah, Brennan has stabilized in a big way.
And the Gear Hulk will close the game in fairly short order as well. And Brennan not too far off of making the emblem with the Teferi.
Swing the Soul Scar Mage.
Looks like the Soul Scar Mage actually going for the Planeswalker.
He's trying to do something. Yeah, I mean, the Teferi's getting very close to that 8, that emblem.
Means Brennan can't Gear Hulk this turn, but that's fine. He's not really in a rush.
Cycles Irrigated Farmland so that Search for Azcanta can transform this turn. 6 cards in graveyard. This makes 7. He'll flip that into land. It says Azcanta the Sunken Ruin. Nathan shouldn't be able to resolve anything from here on out. Teferi to 8. And I've never seen a Teferi emblem. It seems pretty cool. I think we might get to.
It is a powerful one. It's very reminiscent of Venture the Sojourner.
I like slowly exiling all my opponent's permanents. Azcanta taps to find a copy of Teferi. Brendan's just tapping some main phase mana so that he can untap it on end step.
Well, then you get to Emblem. Then
you can Azcanta twice.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's so nice. Goblin Chain Whirler, Essence Scatter.
I have a square for Goblin Chain Whirler kills something with its trigger, and I don't think we'll be checking that box.
We're not going to see a Teferi emblem this game. Nathan's picking up the cards before that happens. But match number 1 goes the way of Brennan. We see pretty much Blue-White doing the thing where it takes about 10 damage, stabilizes, but boy, did Teferi help it turn the corner.
Yep, the standard fare for Blue-White do-nothings.
Yeah, and I like this compared to Blue-White approach. You know, the Teferi was just as dominant as an approach could be, actually a lot more so, and costs 2 less.
Yeah, and just drawing cards that draw extra cards or are removal spells instead of approach makes the mid-game a lot easier.
All right, well, we'll look at some sideboards. Nathan's going to have to find a way to get games 2 and 3. We'll do all that when we come back. So Brendan DeCandio takes game 1. However, during the break, both Mason and Robert Purcell are up 1-0 in their respective mirror matches. So their team currently holds a 2-1 lead. But we'll look at the sideboards. This is normally a matchup that's bad for blue-white control, so Brendan, you actually in a sideboard has a lot to like. which is a problem. He has 3 Lyra Dawnbringers, 3 Forsake the Worldly, 2 Ixalan's Binding, 2 Authority of the Councils, a 2nd Negate, a Jace's Defeat, a Commit to Memory, a Gideon's Defeat, and the 4th Seal Away. Tons of things here, Ryan.
The extra Steal Away is a nice nuts and bolts card, but then Authority of the Console's really powerful in the matchup, and Lyra Dawnbringer, that card's kind of close to unbeatable once you start attacking.
So when you board in these 3 5s of Lyra Dawnbringer, and I'm assuming they're coming in,
yeah.
Between Torrential Gearhulk and Teferi, I assume you have to cut some of those. You can't have all that in here.
Yeah, you do have to go lighter on the higher part of your curve. It's also reasonable to go lower on counter spells if you're planning on resolving these 5-mana things. Certainly on the draw, Teferi can be a little bit of a looser proposition.
Both players going to 6. That's usually okay for Brennan. So that means we have time to look at Nathan's sideboard. He has 3 Chandra, Torch of Defiance, 2 Direfleet Daredevil, 2 Abrade, 2 Puncturing Blow, 2 Glorybringer, an Aethersphere Harvester, a Scavenger Grounds, and a 1 of PNLR, it looks like. So he can go bigger with his threats. I don't know if that's better here.
Yeah, I mean, there's still things like Cast Out, Seal Away now is even a better answer to Glorybringer. It's tough to convert that one. But Chandra, Torch of Defiance is one of your best cards against these control decks. It can be cast out, but it does demand very specific answers. You like it for that reason. And PNLR also demands specific answers. It's 2 bodies on 1 card. It's pretty good in matchups like this.
And I'm concerned by the fact that I don't see anything in Nathan's sideboard that lets him answer a resolved Lyra Dawnbringer.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much have to on-crop Crasher through that one and hope for the best.
They had better be dead to that attack.
If the game is close and Brennan just casts a Lyra, the game is over.
Both players on 6. Nathan scries to top, Brennan to bottom. And it'll be Fanatical Firebrand since Brennan down to 19. Last game Brennan stabilized, it was at 10. I guess 7 if you count a lightning strike upstairs. And Brennan with some swing here puts him to 18. He actually has a land-heavy hand, which I like when the deck's on the mulligan. I'd rather have too many lands than too few.
Yeah, just make sure you can actually cast your spells. You have a few high-impact ones as well. Settle Wreckage, Fumigate, Lyra.
Yeah, no turn 2 play from Nathan Thomas, which means when he tries for a turn 3 on-crop Crasher, Brennan is at the ready with Essence Scatter. And this already looks good for blue-white control. He's at 17 after 3 turns.
Mm-hmm. That is a pretty easy one to go for there, Essence Scatter on the Crasher. Uses your mana, and that's one of the better cards for Nathan.
Kind of like this blue-white control deck. The problem is, Ryan, if I build it, I don't actually have white-bordered islands and plains yet. So I have to work on them.
That sounds really tough.
That's an afternoon.
I don't know how you'll be able to get those.
Goblin Chain Whirler was the play for Nathan Thomas. Brennan didn't have an answer at the time. He just now picked up Disallow, but Chain Whirler resolved and sent Brennan down to 16.
This is not a matchup where Chain Whirler is at its best, but it does have 3 power.
Yeah, they can both swing in. Now that Brennan has the Disallow, there's 2 guys with a Chandra in Nathan's hand. First one certainly lead a counter spell, as that's what he'll go for. And I like him doing this pre-combat, so that precludes Settle the Wreckage. And now we'll swing for 4, Brennan down to 11.
I'm actually a little intrigued by not attacking first, because if you get settled, you don't lose that much, and then the Chandra can be quite good. You're still liable to get fumigated here.
I guess you have to decide whether you'd rather have a Chandra or these 2 creatures, and then you sequence depending on which one you think's better.
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe that Chandra is actually better.
Well, here is Teferi from Brennan. He'll draw the card and untap 2. When the card you're drawing off Teferi is Seal Away, it's just really unfair.
I don't think I'll ever be happy if my opponent casts a Teferi and pluses it immediately. That is just scary.
Draw a card, make 2 mana. Even though the mana doesn't come right away, that's fine. That's a really powerful effect.
Brendan's also just signaling, listen, I can -3 one of those creatures, but I'm not going to. Attack at Teferi. Brendan says, sure, this will go to 1. What else you got?
Another Chandra. This one will resolve. Brendan does not have negate.
No creatures to -3 on, so probably exiling the top card.
It's got a Direfleet Daredevil, yeah. Top card, Scavenger Ground. 2 damage.
Now, important rules update here. So The way that targeting Planeswalkers works now, you have to actually be able to target the Planeswalker. Now, if you read Chandra Torch of Defiance, it deals damage to each opponent. You used to be able to redirect that. Now, because you are hitting just opponents, and that is what you are allowed to hit.
It doesn't say any target.
You can't hit a Planeswalker.
Right, Authority of the Councils from Brennan. A little late to gain life on that, but what's not late is Lyra Dawnbringer.
Yeah, that's about right on time.
So there is actually, I mentioned there was no way for Nathan to kill it. There's not no way. He can actually remove it.
Yeah, Chandra plus Firebrand. That'll line up exactly.
Yeah, it's still a huge price. I mean, Brennan's still drawing cards, but this card is so terrifying, he's going to do that. And Lyra's down.
Yeah, you can beat up the Teferi now, too.
He's got Direfleet Daredevil. Interesting that that card's in. There's not much that he can hit with it.
Yeah, you're kind of trying to steal a Hieroglyphic Illuminations, which is okay. It costs a lot of mana. I would rather just cast that on turn 2.
All right, he'll get. He can exile the Essence Scatter or the Disallow. Not really cast. I guess he'll go for Disallow.
Yeah, you exile the card either way, so that turns it off as a Gearhulk
kit. This does mean if Chain Whirler tries to kill Teferi, Brennan can't seal away it. You would Disallow.
Yeah, that's something.
Now Brennan can still seal away on his own turn, so you know. And then he'll play Earthshaker Kenra as his last card. So Nathan, all cards on the table, but the table's pretty good right now with Brennan at 10. He will need to find some sort of answer.
Like to have a Fumigate or a Settle the Wreckage here.
Yeah. Well, even then, the Chandra will be hard for him to beat.
Yeah, you got to do something about that one.
Land 7 for Brennan. Here's main phase Hieroglyphic Illumination. Draws him. There's a Settle the Wreckage and Cast Out. 2 good cards. See if this is enough, but he'll pass back.
Yeah, he's already made his land drop this turn, so he's going to take a hit.
Yeah, and a big one at that. You see Chandra plussing to exile a card off the top of the deck. It's another Kenra. Nathan can choose to cast or not. He will cast. Brennan gains a life. And because there's only 3 mana, Brian, I don't mind just swinging with all 3 here.
Yeah.
Send Brennan to 12.
Yeah, nothing to stop you from doing that. Because of the authority, I'm actually a little interested in the decision of whether to cast the Kenra. It might have been better to just treat that as a shock.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm not sure it's wrong, but it's, you know, a lot more pause than normal here. Go back over to Brennan, plays Field of Ruin. He has Cast Out. He will cast out the Chandra and leave up his 4 mana for that Settle the Wreckage. Settle the Wreckage and Disallow in hand. Now, we've already seen game 1, Nathan actually played around Settle the Wreckage. I imagine it's on his, if he did it then, I think he'll do it again this time.
Yeah, the attack here is just well more than lethal, so it makes sense too.
I don't want to swing both Kenras.
Yeah, Kenra Daredevil is probably the attack. He's looking at attacking with everything but one Kenra.
Well, Kenra Daredevil isn't lethal.
I meant Chain Whirler, sorry.
Okay.
Not everything but the Kenras.
He's going to swing 3 creatures. That's certainly going to earn the Settle the Wreckage.
Yes. Yeah, because this is lethal, you can't do anything but settle, so there you do see the settle.
Settle, get him 3 more mountains. Over on the Legacy table, Tan and Grace takes the first sideboarded game of the Delver Mirror. So it's now 1-1, and they're going to head to game 3. Brennan stays at 5 that turn. He may be fine here. We'll have to see. A good top deck could get it for him, depending on what Nathan has. But Nathan's hand's actually pretty good.
Another Chain Whirler hanging out there. And another Daredevil.
So he'll cast Daredevil. I'm a little surprised here that he didn't wait till he could use that Hieroglyphic Illumination from the Daredevil.
So I actually like this. He exiles Settle, now a Gearhulk can't settle him.
I do like that. I guess he decided he was committed to playing out the whole hand, and here Brennan draws Gearhulk, so you're absolutely right. That play did matter. Another land from Brennan. Brennan's hand is Disallow Gearhulk.
Did he miss the Chain Whirler trigger, or is Brennan still at 6?
2 p.m. standard challenge players.
No, Brennan, 6 is correct.
Again, 2 p.m.
The Gear Hulk may not be able to flashback a settle anymore, but the 5/6
Yeah.
blocker will buy Brennan some time.
Yeah, and it'll cast Hieroglyphic Illumination too, which means that Brennan will go drop to 2, but may not be dead here. Does he have? And if you look at his mana,
He has exactly enough.
does he have
to-
9?
Yeah, looks like 9.
So even if there's Lightning Strike in Nathan's hand, Brennan has it covered.
Yeah, Gear Hulk plus Disallow is a very powerful turn. Brennan splitting it up into the best mana to cast a Settle the Wreckage. He does not have a Settle.
No, he has the Gear Hulk though. Gear Hulk will cast Hieroglyphic Illumination out of the graveyard.
I think the more my opponent postures like they have something, the less likely I am to play around it.
And he's got a great follow-up. He drew Lyra Dawnbringer. And he drew Seal Away. That was what a set of draws. He'll seal away the Kenra, block the Chain Whirler, take 2 off the Daredevil, go to 4. And that means next turn he can Lyra plus Disallow.
Yikes.
I don't know that Nathan will beat that.
No.
And not, especially now that Brennan drew another Gear Hulk.
That makes it even harder to lose. Yeah,
Lyra
once this
Dawnbringer.
Lyra hits, the game should be over. And Nathan Thomas picks up another basic mountain. He has way too many of those.
Lyra protected by Disallow just says go. And it's going to be a quick turnaround. Swings both.
And it's not lethal, but it is game.
Yeah, Brennan to 9, Nathan to 4. Disallow and Gear Hulk in hand. A draw from Nathan Thomas is a Pia Nalar. That's not going to do it. It's going to eat Brennan's Disallow.
You can make Brennan gain 2 life by casting that spell.
Torrential Gear Hulk plus Essence Scatter. And that's going to do it. 2-0 with blue-white control. Brennan DeCandio is your winner.
And now we let things be settled by the 2 mirror matches in Modern and Legacy.
Impressive showing there for blue-white. And this just feels more... What I like about blue-white is this is the first time it has felt like a true control deck to me. Instead of trying to win with something like Approach of the Second Sun, this is just playing control. And I really like how it looks.
Yeah, Lyra Dawnbringer being the pseudo return of Baneslayer Angel is such a huge update for decks like this.
Well, especially in a format where mono red was a tier 1 deck and a blue-white control's worst matchup. Yeah, a Baneslayer Angel style card's great.
Yes.
And all right, we zoom in on Tannen, zoom in on Mason.
The future is here.
We're going to go over to the legacy tables. They are in game number 3. Mason needs to win this one to keep his team alive.
Yeah, we'll figure out exactly where this deciding game 3 is in the Grixis Delver Mirror. Tends to be a drawn-out affair.
Yeah, it certainly is a skill match. I'm scared to play this matchup.
If you have an unchecked turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, that can be pretty easy.
Okay, yeah. If I could start each game with that in play and it doesn't die to Lightning Bolt, all right, I'm good.
Right.
It has to be it has to have it turn 1 and have it resolve. I want to untap with it on every turn 2, and then I'm okay.
Yeah, checking those boxes will make you pretty happy, though.
We're going to go this. Right now, we do not have life totals yet, but we want to bring you to the match. What we see, True Name Nemesis in Mason's graveyard. It looks like it was just hit by a daze, so that's great for Tannen, and now he's untapped and is resolving a Ponder. 3 cards in hand. He's looking for a 4th. They are land, blue card, red card.
Yeah.
Looks like land, lightning bolt, and
Might be a daze. I'm not entirely sure on that. Frequently, when you're pondering here, if you have a fetch land, you get rid of whatever's hanging out if you don't like them, if it's close.
Spell Pierced, Pyroblast are the other 2. So we see Gataxian Probe. Let's take a look at them. Ponder, Spell Pierce, Lightning Bolt, Pyroblast for Tannen. No 3rd land. He has Volcanic Island up, so both red spells are castable, and is the Spell Pierce. I'll go with a Wasteland here, some B for Mason.
Especially because Tannen's 2nd land is Tropical Island, the worst deck in the deck, the worst land in the deck by a very wide margin.
Yeah, that's just there out of respect to Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, it's pretty much an island that can be wastelanded in most of the games.
Tannen's going to play out the Ponder. Mason knows about that. Tannen needs more lands. Top cards. Looks like he has Diabolic Edict, red card, fetch land. I know he wants the fetch land, and I'm not sure he wants anything else. He needs a threat.
You kind of think about it, I suppose you crack the fetch because you want black mana, but then you got to find something to actually do with it.
Yeah, Tannen has a Brainstorm in hand. So with this fetch land, if he's willing to not crack it here and draw a second one of those cards, he can set up for a Brainstorm Fetchland interaction. No one's doing anything yet.
That's true. The lightning bolts are good against most of the threats in the decks.
Yeah.
You don't want to have this hand run into a Gurmag Angler. That would be a problem.
Life total is now accurate. 19 on Mason, 17 for Tannen, so pretty healthy on both sides. This is a positional game.
There is a second lightning bolt in those holdings, but this Flooded Strand wants to find Underground Sea. So Gurmag Angler is really the best possible thing that Mason can have right now, and indeed, frequently in the matchup, that's going to be the case.
So on Mason's hand, Ryan, I don't like a lot where it's going. He's got Cabal Therapy, which he's going to try to blind name after.
He's
seen
some cards, yeah.
Yeah, he's seen.
The thing is, none of these cards are good.
Yeah.
You can name Pyroblast, I think, is the best one.
And maybe Tannen will brainstorm here. Might even hide some stuff. Draws a bunch of lightning bolts.
I would not want to be stuck with 3 lightning bolts in hand at the end of this, because once you brainstorm, your opponent figures you're hiding the best card of the lot.
So and then they might name lightning bolt.
They'll name something that you're probably stuck with, right? And lightning bolt is the most reasonable card to hang around. The worst card in Tannen's hand is Spell Pierce by like a pretty wide margin.
So you're pretty sure he's going to put that back so you can shuffle it away.
You want to shuffle that away. But the current configuration he's looking at, the Diabolic Edict, the Pyroblast, those ones are pretty good, but leaves him with 2 lightning bolts. And
he's
lightning
keeping
bolt,
a double, yeah.
Lightning bolt actually a pretty reasonable card to name once that brainstorm's cast in response to the therapy.
If Mason names lightning bolt, Tannen is going to be in a bad spot. He missed.
Now this is game.
He went for the Spell Pierce.
That is surprising, given how bad Spell Pierce is in the matchup.
So here's my thought about naming Spell Pierce. So he's thinking Tannen's going to get rid of the good cards, keep the bad ones. And Spell Pierce was the worst card. So there's a chance that Tannen puts the Spell Pierce back to shuffle it away, which is what he did. But the other thing I don't like is, let's say Tannen doesn't. Your big reward is you got their Spell Pierce.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's all well and good, but then congratulations, you outfoxed him and took the worst card out of his hand.
Right, like shoot a little closer to the target.
Right. And Tannen has played this entire match. This is Game 3. You don't know how many Cabal therapies have been cast, but once you get a feel for how Mason is naming, that informs how you make those decisions as well.
Well, and both players just flush on answer. So Mason's hand right now is Lightning Bolt, Dead Gone. Tannen's hand is Lightning Bolt, Pyroblast, Diabolic Edict. So he's definitely up.
Ooh.
And now you see true name Nemesis in the top 3. Tannen has drawn a Ponder. So that's a threat we can fight over. And they're actually, between Dead Gone and Lightning Bolt, Mason's cold to it. And you see Tannen
chose to pick up Spell Pierce. Now, it's possible that because Mason is naming Spell Pierce, Tannen thinks that there's like a Jace the Mind Sculptor in Mason's hand or something like that.
Okay.
But frequently you would not see that in the mirror.
Well, I guess you could, especially now when your opponent has 6 lands.
Yeah, this is way too many lands to Spell Pierce in the matchup full of 1-mana spells.
Well, I think, maybe the other card down wasn't any better. He's going to go for true name Nemesis. And Mason has 2 red cards. They do not deal.
You can Spell Pierce a hardcast Force of Will there.
All right, so check. Now that true name Nemesis is on the table, I'm looking at what Mason can do about it, if anything. He's got 1 Diabolic Edict in the sideboard, which I assume's in, and that's it. There's no copy of, say, Golgari Charm, Toxic Deluge, anything like that.
Yep.
He's on a 1-out.
No Marsh Casualties.
There we go. That's probably the one they'd play.
Yeah. Tannen does have a Casualties in his sideboard, as well as his Diabolic Edict, but Tannen's the player with True Name Nemesis, so these are all Mason's problems.
Well, this game's going to decide it all as Robert Purcell wins in the Human's Mirror in Modern, but right now that looks good for Tannen Grace as he pursues another consecutive top 8. Still wanting that trophy. Volcanic Island has wastelanded away.
You know that Tannen has a lot of red spells, so choking him on red mana does make sense.
Yeah, you still figure one of these red spells is going to be pointed at Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah. Gotta imagine that that's happening. And now that it's just 1 red source, you probably just end step it. If it gets countered, you have another one, whatever.
And that's what it'll do. Lightning Bolt on Deathrite. And that one's not even going to be countered. It just goes to the graveyard. Tannen keeping pace here very well. Still 20 minutes left, though. No problem. 3 damage sends Mason down to 16. And the best part is Tannen has a return true name Nemesis covered in Pyroblast right now. Ponder from Mason. Tannen says, hey, should I Pyroblast? Yeah, I will.
Usually, probably.
Well, there's like the problem that he may want to try to save it for a true name, but that's just too fancy. He swings in and puts Mason down to 11.
He's just winning that race.
Sure, he doesn't have to worry about it unless there's. They can actually let one resolve. It's fine.
Also, Mason's had so much mana for several turns. If he had a true name, he had opportunities to cast it plenty of times. And he also had opportunities to cast Ponder. It's very likely that Ponder's the top deck. So it just feels like that Pyroblast is going to be good.
Well, Wasteland, he goes for Tannen's Volcanic. Tannen is going to go ahead and shoot a Lightning Bolt upstairs. Mason drops to 8 and then loses his red mana. Back to Tannen. He's going to swing down to 5. I don't think... Yeah, he can Gitaxian Probe here. He's got some life points to play with.
Yep, he can also probably just use mana.
Yeah, he'll tap. Looks at Mason's hand. It's Lightning Bolt. Not a problem. Draws Wasteland of his own. Swings True Name. Mason down to 5.
Not really a meaningful application for Tannen's Wasteland here. You check there. If the other Underground Sea is already gone, then there's usually only 2 copies.
And that's what he just looked for?
Yep.
Well, there's the other Underground Sea, but he drew it. One more draw step for Mason. He takes a hit of 3 off the True Name. Goes to 2.
And this needs to be Diabolic Edict off the top for Mason.
And it is a black card. No, it is Young Pyromancer. That's not going to do it.
Yeah.
He knows your last card, so he's going to
You will not stop him from attacking for lethal.
And, oh, don't do this thing. Yeah, Diabolic Edict it. Tan's like, no, stop it. I got this. And he swings. And that's going to be the match. So Tannen Grace takes Game 3 in Legacy. He and Brennan DeCandio win their matches, and that's going to be enough to move their team on. Team of Grace, Merriam, and DeCandio now at 4-1.
Yeah, this